Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and I have a diamond in the rough for you guys to meet today. His name is Marshall Foerner. He is an offensive tackle out of Minnesota State Mankato. Nice to have you, sir.
Appreciate you having me on.
If people really don't know you yet, I feel like they're, going to eventually know you. I have you listed currently as one of the top prospects at the small school level this season. A guy who is an all-conference athlete in the NSIC, and really looking forward to your last season there at Mankato. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll get going.
Yeah, so I'm Marshall Foerner. I'm offensive lineman at Minnesota State Mankato. Originally, I'm from Plano, Illinois, just a small town in kind of central Illinois, where it was. Then I went to high school out in Aurora at Marmion Academy, and then ended up at Minnesota State from there playing football.
Interesting. Bounced around just a little bit. Actually, as I was writing down my notes, I just put in, the Plano, Illinois. I didn't
Yeah,
put all the other ones. So
yeah.
it's kind of nice to at least know at least somewhat of the journey there for you. And I put in my notes, Marmion Academy, was the last, I mean, was that the last place that you had attended, or were there others, along the way, you said?
That was. I went to all 4 years of high school there.
Okay, cool. Talk a little bit about high school. I mean, I know we're a bit removed from that, but I mean, what memories do you have from those days? I mean, obviously, I have you as a two-sport athlete, also participated as a thrower in track and field, but of course, most people know you as a football player.
Yeah.
Give me a memory or two from your high school days.
I don't have anything specific, but it was some some of the most fun times because it was all guys school, and so just the fellas having fun. Kind of started out playing like all football, basketball, and track, and then dropped basketball around sophomore year. What wasn't as good as that, and then was super skinny throughout high school, and eventually end of my junior year we had a new strength coach come in, and he had done it with other guys and was a former college football player himself, and that kind of like turned turned my football career around for the better. Went from, I think I was like two 210 220 my junior year, and played senior year at like 240, and then by the time I started my first year at Minnesota State, I was 280. A lot of weight in a very short amount of time, and it was good weight.
Yeah, I mean, people don't really see the big picture, of course, there's a lot happening. I mean, of course, in high school, not everybody grows at the same rate. And I'm still waiting on my growth spurt, just to
Yeah.
throw that out there. And I'm in my 40s. But no, yeah, you said obviously you're a small guy. It took you a little bit of time to put on some weight. And I know at least as of now, you're in your 300-ish, like somewhere there. Marshall, what's your current height and weight, man? Throw it out there for people so they know.
Right now I'm like probably just a hair under 6'7", 6'6" and a half probably, and then right now bouncing around 305, anywhere from that 300 to 310 at the high end, depending on the day and what I'm doing and eating.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, obviously, at a really good size for an offensive lineman. Of the tape that I was watching, I saw that you were playing left tackle there
Mhm.
for Mankato. Uh, Talk about Minnesota State. I mean, you're coming out of Marmion Academy there in Illinois, and then you ultimately landed there at Minnesota State. How did that recruiting process work for you, and how did you ultimately end up there at Mankato?
Yeah, it's kind of didn't expect it to go the way it did. Like finishing my junior year of high school, like started. that that senior year summer, I wasn't didn't even really think about playing college football because I hadn't really heard anything. And then I had gone to like kind of one of those more bigger like satellite camps and did whatever there and got like a random invite to a camp up in Minnesota from a former coach and I was just like my mom was from Minnesota, so I was like, oh sure, I'll go up to Minnesota and see what they have up there, kind of expecting it to be a one of those satellite camps because I didn't know what to expect, and I got there and found it was just Minnesota State, and I was like, oh, this is it was still a super awesome place. And when it turns out when we're doing the camp, like we're like going around doing the testing, and the O line coach didn't even know who I was at that time. He was running around trying to figure out what my name was from one of the other GAs, and ended up getting an offer from there. And they're like I think they're the first ones to offer me, and then kind of went about the recruiting process and talked to other schools, and just kind of couldn't get away from here. This is the love the people here, love the town, and yeah, then committed here in December of my senior year and loved it ever since.
Yeah, and so Marshall, I also have in my notes that I don't know if this is still your major, but are you an accounting major? I mean, what's your status there, academically, man? Are you finished up with that, or give me the update?
Yeah, so I think I probably going into college I said I was going to be accounting, but then I realized I didn't want to be doing behind a computer all day dealing with no people, so I transitioned to financial planning. Graduated with my finance degree in the spring of 23, and so now I'm halfway through my master's degree in business administration.
Nice. So, for some people, I think sometimes it's like, hey, I'm good with numbers. Like I know how to count, and that sort of thing. And so they're like, yeah, I mean, I'll just get into accounting. But I mean, of course, like, as you get into things, I mean, and kind of understand what it truly means to be a student athlete. I mean, obviously, sometimes people just kind of have to maneuver themselves a little bit to figure out like what's best for them moving forward. So obviously for you, it's a finance degree, which you had completed, and then now you're working, to further that education as well. So awesome. So go ahead. Let's talk a little bit more about Minnesota State. So um, I have a general idea about that offense, but go ahead and describe that offense a little bit in your overall role. So go for it.
Yeah, so we want to be a balanced offense, be able to do run the ball and pass the ball, but definitely want to lean heavy on the run and be able to control the line of scrimmage and pass the ball when we want to and run the ball when we need to and kind of be downhill in your face kind of team, control the clock. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, in my notes, I have you listed as a left tackle. Has that been most of your experience, or have you moved around some?
Um, when I in my first 2 years I bumped around from left to right tackle and just kind of wherever they needed a guy before I was like officially starting. And once I was um, got the starting spot in 2021, I've been at left since then.
Cool. Well, and so, and again, looking at you as a guy who is a prospect, going into this upcoming season, and then hopefully, as we approach the 2025 draft, what do you feel separates you from a lot of people at your position? Of course, you have some good size to yourself, but what else would you add to that?
Yeah, to add to the size, I feel like with the size, I'm very athletic for what my size is, and then I think I understand the game very well, and I'm able to understand a lot of what defenses are doing. I try to learn as much as I can about the defense to figure out what they're trying to do and how we can attack that. And then I feel like I'm one of the hardest workers out there.
Well, I mean, hey, I mean, and really just kind of being a part of that Minnesota State team over its time. I mean, it's actually been a very successful program. As far back as I can remember, I may know that there was at least one off year, but I mean, typically has been very successful. Uh, Talk a little bit about what you guys do, because I mean you talked a little bit about this whole idea of establishing the run and dominating the line of scrimmage. What would be perhaps one of your guys' bread and butter plays that you go out there to execute regularly?
Power,
Power.
downhill power gap scheme. It's
Yeah, I mean,
been
keep going. You're good.
yeah, we it's one of our favorite plays. Love to have more power.
Well, from what I have seen myself, again, that is something that, Minnesota State has been able to do year in and year out. Just going back as really as far as I can remember, I mean, you get these big old hog mollies up front, establishing the run in order to, really open up the passing game. And so, you know, you you guys have had really good success on that O line. Can you speak to that effect somewhat? Just about some of the people that have been around you as you have progressed through your time there at Minnesota State?
Yeah, I mean just the history of O-line play at Minnesota State is really special. I mean, there's guys like Evan Heim, Chris Reed, and then like Hunter Topple and the guys that have come before me that just kind of established the culture of what we are now and just trying to continue that of power football and owning the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and obviously, you're the guy now. You're the guy now who's leading that line, and going to be somebody to look forward to this upcoming year. So, um, Marshall, I know you've been a part of a lot of great games there in the NSIC, being an all conference athlete. Talk about some of the best matchups that you've had over your time. Like, is there maybe a specific game that really sticks out to you personally that maybe perhaps defines you as an athlete?
Um, I don't think one game defines me, but there's been some special games that I've been able to be a part of, like going into Bemidji last year, and that atmosphere was one of the craziest that we've been a part of, and lucky enough to come away with a win was one of the cooler things to do in my time here.
Cool. Obviously, a lot of great talent there in the NSIC. I think some people just they don't realize that the kind of opposition that you have to face regularly. Again, with teams like Bemidji, and always being a tough team to face regularly. And so that one's always a tough battle for sure. What's your expectations this upcoming season, man? I mean, you have a really tough game to begin your schedule. But how are things going to look this upcoming season?
Um, it's always expectations are very high, being at where we are and got a lot of returners and just gonna try to take it 1 week at a time and go 1-0 every week and see how far we can go with that.
Cool. Tell a little bit about the guys around you. I mean, who are the guys around you? Maybe some guys coming up in that program that who we need to know.
Yeah, so we got on offense we have a lot of returners like our only two guys that aren't back are starting right guard from last year and then our halfback. But other than that, the whole offense is back with like Zach Rogo, the center, and Nathan Gribble and Hayden Eckern, the quarterback. And on defense, we got Maven Krejci back and one of the probably more underrated D linemen in the conference, Caleb Paulus, and returning safety Joey Gettle. And so we have some guys returning, so we always hope to get something from all of us.
I mean, a lot of guys coming back. And again, just kind of looking at your guys' record over the past couple seasons, man, you guys are able to win a lot of games and make a push in the playoffs. And so we'll see how far we go this year, man. Obviously, first and foremost, you want to win your conference and then move forward. And I know that that team has potential to be a threat in the playoffs. So a lot of things to look forward to this upcoming season for Mankato. Marshall, do want to have a moment to talk about something that's not football for a bit. So, anything about you that you feel people need to know, whether it be your hobbies, interests, or any other passions you have in your life other than football?
Mhm. Um, yeah, just pretty average guy, but spent the last 2 summers interning at a financial planning firm in the cities to learn as much as I can from take something from that to apply to life down the road. And um, yeah, other than that, I have a dog that spend a lot of time with taking care of him, and that kind of keeps me busy most of the days.
Gotcha. I'm sitting here trying to think of maybe some wild question to ask you just for the sake of fun. So just sitting here thinking, other than football and maybe perhaps finance, is there like maybe a particular subject or thing in general that you feel like you might be an expert in, or you know how sometimes people have like worthless information
Yeah.
of some stuff. What is that for you, man? Like, are you a movie buff? Are you you read a lot of books? Like, what is that for you, man? I mean, is there something else that you can share about yourself?
Um, Probably nothing too crazy, but I'm pretty in the Marvel movies, watching all those, and gotta go get out and watch the new Deadpool movie tonight is my plan. Just keeping up with those.
Gotcha. And so as we look at the span of all those characters, whether it be Marvel or what have you, do you have a particular favorite of of one of these superheroes or what?
Ooh, I would love the more like unsuperhero-y, like the Peter Quill or like the Deadpool, where they're not like the normal superhero. They're just kind of like act like normal people and are just like funny that way.
Yeah, it's a little bit slapstick kind of,
Yeah,
goofy comedy. It's like, hey, you're just the comedic relief type bit.
yeah. Just
And
a normal guy that happens to be a superhero.
Yeah, and Chris Pratt's fun, man. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if people really understand that, but he does a good
yeah,
job out there. So,
yeah. And he
um,
seems like a great guy outside of acting and stuff. Never know
gosh.
with all the other people.
See if I can get a couple more things out of you before we get things wrapped up. Talk about your hometown a little bit, man. There in Illinois. What's special about that place? Maybe perhaps even if there's like a local hotspot restaurant or something, talk about it for just a second.
Yeah, it's kind of just a typical small town. It was actually the in one of the Superman movies. It was the hometown of Clark Kent. Like it was filmed, his hometown was filmed in Plano, which was a pretty cool thing. And then it's like if you have a fishing tackle box, it was probably made in Plano at Plano Molding Co.
That's where that comes from. I was wondering
Yeah,
where that comes from. So
yeah.
that's good to know. So would that also, I mean, again, I'm not trying to say anything, but would that also say that most people in that area own such fishing, tackle and stuff? I mean, do you consider yourself an outdoorsy kind of guy or what?
Um, I am outdoorsy, but I don't fish very much. I like to be outside, but I'm not an outdoorsman type kind of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. Some people don't mind the, fishy, slimy stuff. It's fine. So, I know I get it. Obviously, we're talking under the platform of you as a potential prospect in for the NFL here soon. Um, who do you admire the most at your position who's playing in the NFL right now? Is there a guy who you like to watch his film or what?
Um, probably Lane Johnson would be the guy that I enjoy watching the most. I mean, all those the top tackles in the league, you can take something from one of them, and they're all cool to hear about and watch them play as much as you can.
Cool. I mean, the one thing that I think of when I think of Lane Johnson is just elite athleticism. Obviously, I mean, I remember the guy, doing, phenomenal work way back when they were, measuring him and like how fast he was able to work. So,
Mhm.
obviously, the hope is to be amongst those guys here very soon, finish strong this upcoming season, and then we'll see how things go from there. So, Marshall, want to wish you all the best this upcoming year. And as we wrap things up, talk to those scouts out there who will have their eyes on you this season and what they would be getting if they took a chance on you. So go for it.
Yeah, I kind of like I said earlier, I feel like I'm one of the most hardworking guys out there and super consistent. I day in day out just trying to get that 1% all the time, and I'll do whatever it takes.
No, I get it. I mean, you get a guy out there who does check a lot of boxes, has been very successful, knows what it means to be a team leader and to really just dominate the guy in front of him. Marshall, again, want to wish you all the best this upcoming season and beyond, man. Obviously, you have a lot going on in your life. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Again, I have with me Marshall Foerner. He is an offensive tackle out of Minnesota State Mankato. Check him out this season.